feel that we're going off in some direction where I'm not sure we can use it, I'll probably start making hand signals. And
Okay. Tape is cheap.
that's why we're shooting. The whole object of the show is to first of all talk about how the politics of Louisiana compares to the rest of the nation. There's some people that think of it as somewhat colorful. Some people think of it as unrestrained. How does Louisiana politics differ from the rest of the nation?
I think Louisiana politics differs from the rest of the nation in several respects. I think first of all, Louisiana has a history of colorful political characters. And as a result of that, I think they expect to have colorful political campaigns. You can do things in Louisiana politics that may not be tolerated very well in other parts of the country, especially in the media. I think some of the commercials you'll see on television here and in the radio will show you this. They have a great deal of entertainment value. They can be very aggressive, very humorous, and they may not play very well in other parts of the country, but they play very well in Louisiana.
Can you give me some examples of sorts of commercials that played well here that might not play well other places?
Specific commercials?
Sort of specific types or specific commercials if they're on your mind.
I have had a great deal of luck with using humor in Louisiana campaigns, and I'm not so sure it'll play. It plays. Let me start over again. I've had a lot of I've had some good luck using humorous commercials in Louisiana campaigns, and I'm not sure that I would have as much success in other parts of the country. The people here, especially in southern Louisiana, will tolerate and almost expect some sort of entertainment value, some sort of humor in the media, and especially humor. I think you can use satire down here. You can parody the opponents, and not only get away with it, but get votes with it as well.
Give me some examples of some of the commercials you've done, some of the funnier ones or more colorful ones.
In the current mayor's race, we're representing the incumbent, Mayor Bartholomew, and the mayor has been taking quite a beating from the opponent and decided to strike back. So we produced a commercial for him that satirized our opponent by making him a contestant on a game show. We called it Truth in Politics. We found a look-alike. We cast for this person, found someone who looked a lot like the opponent, and we got a host for the game show, built a set, gaudy set, lights, typical television game show type set, and we had the host grill the contestant, ask him questions about his assertions during the campaign and some of his exaggerations and what we thought were distortions. And whenever he would give the wrong answer, a buzzer would go off, the audience would groan, and the host would scold him for giving us the wrong answer, and then would provide the truth. We ran that for 2 weeks very heavily, and I think it had a real good effect because it got our opponent to respond with 2 different commercials. It got people laughing, and I think once you have the electorate laughing derisively at your opponent, you begin to erode support, and I think that's what we did. I think another thing we did was we took a little of the gloss off of this candidate. I think when you come from business or from the private sector into a political arena, you don't have any dirty laundry or excess baggage. You may have a good reputation, and you haven't been in the public spotlight, so people don't really know who you are. You're sort of an unpredictable, unknown commodity, and however you define your campaign, that's who you are. I'm starting to ramble.
Yeah. That's all right. That's okay. Well, that's okay. It's giving me an idea of other things to ask.
Okay.
I can see how that would be a very funny commercial. I'm sure it is, 'cause that's what I was told today. But at the same time, and maybe it's because I lived here too long, that seems sort of tame by Louisiana standards.
Mm-hmm.
Can you give us, if not one that you've done, some of the more extreme types of commercials around here that you would not see in other states?
Mm-hmm.
As in, I remember a commercial I saw or whatever.
Yeah. I don't think a Willie Horton commercial would play well here. I think that although the average citizen of Louisiana may not have the, I'm going down a dead end there.
You want to stop and think for a
Well, you
second?
want to talk
Yeah.
about Mr. Sauce?
Well,
Yeah,
okay.
What was the genesis of it and how did?
Yeah, I'm more comfortable with that
Yeah,
than blasting somebody else's stuff.
Yeah, right,
you know.
right.
Just describe it.
A few years ago, we handled a sheriff in Jefferson Parish, and he was being attacked by his opponent for a number of things. And we felt we had to respond because the attacks were in fact hurting us. And we chose as a response the opponent's, let me start over again.
Sure.
I'm trying to think what exactly we did, what it was.
His face
I remember.
is superimposed.
Yeah, I know what we did. I was trying to think why we did it. Why did we attack this guy? You know, it was plea bargaining is what it was.
That's right.
Yeah, plea bargaining.
Right.
You want me to name names or not? Stay away
You
from
can
it.
say, well,
You can say Harry Lee.
or you can say Harry Lee and Art Latini because you'll
Yeah.
see the commercial,
Yeah.
sure.
Mhm. Several years ago, we were representing a sheriff in Jefferson Parish who was being attacked fairly vigorously by his opponent, and we felt we had to respond because we were being hurt by his attacks. He was attacking our candidate, the incumbent sheriff, as being incompetent, as being a poor leader, not a very good administrator, lots of different things. So we decided to attack him as being soft on crime, because that was, of course, a big issue in the sheriff's race. So we found in his record a number of plea bargain cases, and we thought that that he had plea bargained too many cases, and so that didn't really fit with the image of being a tough crime fighter. So, as an image on television, we chose an ice cream cone, a Mr. Softy ice cream cone, with a neon sign behind it flashing the name Mr. Softy, and his face superimposed inside the ice cream cone with some music playing behind it. And as the camera zoomed into that ice cream cone, you saw it melting around the sides, slowly melting. Actually, it wasn't slow, it was fast. We did a sort of a time lapse of the ice cream cone. So here's our opponent in the middle of a Mr. Softy ice cream cone melting. And that was the metaphor for his experience in crime. And we used words over the ice cream cone to talk about the number of cases he had plea bargained and so forth and so on. I think it was a very effective commercial, and although it was funny, it was also it was humorous in a macabre sense. And he did respond to it. It deflected his particular thrust of his campaign, and I think it helped us win the election.
Do you think it would have appealed to a non-Louisianan audience?
I think in some areas of the country, voters don't have experience with this sort of advertising. And if they see a commercial that's either a satirical commercial or an attack commercial trying to use humor or a metaphor of that kind, they're not used to it. They don't have experience with it, and it becomes a little confusing for them. So I'm not sure that the type of advertising that you can do in Louisiana will play well in other states.
Let's broaden out a little bit, and we may go back in a bit. What kind of skills in your campaigns are necessary, different skills are necessary for a politician to be successful in Louisiana as opposed to other places?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
Does it take a different type of skill or a different type of style to be a successful politician in general in Louisiana?
No, I think there are basic skills that you need as a political candidate or office holder, politician in Louisiana that you need everywhere. You need to be able to communicate first and foremost. I think people expect that. They want to know who you are, what you stand, what you believe in, and I think the better you can communicate those things, the more success you'll have as a candidate. I think intelligence is helpful, but not the primary requisite for running for office or holding office. I think ability to motivate people and put a team together and hold people together is important. The ability to work with others and reach a consensus and occasionally compromise if you have to. I think those are qualities that you need.
Now, those are general characteristics. Those people from the outside looking at Louisiana see sort of our colorful candidates, our rogues or whatever, Edwin Edwardses, our Harry Lees, our
Yeah.
Sherman Copelands, and they go, this doesn't remind me of politics in New Jersey or West Virginia or California. Is there something else different going on here?
There may be something different going on here. There may be a certain earthiness among political people in the state that you won't find elsewhere. An ability to put your arm around someone and give them a hug or kiss or something like that, I think may be particular to Louisiana politics.
Well, we spend a lot of money here. I mean, we were just talking a few minutes ago about Edwin raised $17 million to run for governor, and his opponent raised $8 million. Doesn't this stand out? Where does all this money come from? Why so much in Louisiana?
I don't know where it comes from. Yeah, it comes from a lot of different sources. I think you're going to see now we have a limit on campaign expenditures. I think it's $5,000 limit that the present governor put into effect. So I think you're going to see more money coming from out of state possibly in some areas, and I think you're going to see more creative ways to finance campaigns. But I think the days of the $22 million statewide races are over.
Back when those days were there, I mean, when you were in Washington, you were talking about campaigns of other consultants. Did people ever ask you about how we got these kind of astronomical campaigns in the state?
People across the country are curious about Louisiana politics. They want to know, where does this money come from? How do these people get away with this stuff? How can you go on the air with these kinds of commercials? And I didn't know this until I moved out of Louisiana. It gave me a good story to tell. People are very curious outside of Louisiana about what's going on here. They don't understand it. They can't imagine that this much money can be spent in a political campaign.
And how do you explain it to them?
Well, it's all I ever knew. I learned politics here. I always thought of it as a spectator sport and something that everybody could play and that was fun. And at the same time, I was disappointed that some of the people got elected to office who did. And I took it more and more seriously. Even though we enjoy using humor in the commercials, we take it very seriously.
Let me just ask a quick question.
Sure.
There's sort of a difference, I guess, between running a small town race, let's say like a councilmanic race or something, or a coroner's race, where they're using television here.
Yeah,
to run that. I mean, that's one of the reasons why the campaigns cost so much. But isn't that unusual? I mean, I've never seen it anywhere else.
It is unusual. Do you want me to look at you? Or
Sure, no, look at Paul.
Down, okay. I have on my demonstration reel several local races in which we used film and spent considerable dollars to produce commercials with high production value. And people outside of Louisiana are curious, why do you spend so much money? Where do they find the money to do film commercials and run on television in these local races? And I don't know. It's always been that way as long as I can remember. Even on local races, councilmanic races, school board races, people will use television to run their campaigns.
It's just what people expect to see.
People expect to see candidates on television, especially in Louisiana and some of the larger markets. If you're not on television, you're not viable. If you're not on television, you can't raise the money. Therefore, you don't have a chance to win. So I think the electorate expects to see you on television if you consider yourself a serious candidate.
You were involved in Edwards' campaign in 1983. What was that campaign like?
The Edwards campaign of 1983 was unlike any campaign I have ever worked on, and I think unlike any campaign I will ever work on. Millions of dollars were spent. I think he raised in excess of $17 million. We produced over 40 political commercials for his campaign, and we had a lot of fun. Edwards impressed me as a very efficient, astute, shrewd politician. He didn't waste your time. He knew what he wanted, and from the consultants he simply wanted their best work, and he paid you for that work, and he paid you well and on time. He knew how to motivate people around him. Where are you going to go with it?
How confident was he of victory in this race?
I think Edwards was confident from the very start. I think he knew what he had to do to win. He knew he was going to raise the money. He knew what type of strategy he had to run. And there was never any question in his mind that he was going to win this race. And I think that was infectious. He convinced those around him that he was going to win. It was going to take a lot of work, a lot of money, but he had the organization, tremendous organization. I've never seen anything like it. And he had the troops out. He had the top consultants, good people, very bright people, and ran a well-orchestrated campaign.
You told me earlier on he was so confident that he was talking to the press about what would be the things, the only way he could lose. Do you remember what those were?
Mm-hmm. I heard, what did I say? It was said that, I read that Edwards said the only way he could lose the election would be if he were caught in bed with a live boy or a dead girl. And that was pretty widespread around Louisiana. And people expected that sort of remark and that sort of humor, if you will, from Edwin Edwards.
Did he ever say that he said it?
I don't know if he ever said that he said it, but I know that he never denied it. So, and I think that that's what the press liked about the man, was that he was himself. He would never try to hide behind anything. He would never deny things outright. He would, if he was accused of gambling, he would say, well, that's not true that I lost $50,000. I lost $60,000. And so, in a sense, I admired that about the man because there wasn't any hypocrisy about him. He may not have liked the man or his character or his particular sense of morality, but I admired him for being honest with the press, and I think you can't take that away from him.
Edwards' campaigns were freewheeling, and he could get away with things like that. The state's been in an oil crisis, and the economy's fallen down quite drastically in the last few years. Is that affecting the campaigns and what you can and can't say in Louisiana?
I think the psychological mindset of the electorate right now is much different than it was in Louisiana's heyday. I think they're more serious, they're more concerned about their future, about education, about jobs, about important issues. And that may affect the way campaigns are run now and in the future. I think people may expect more serious solutions from their candidates. I think they may expect less, I don't know. Who knows? Who knows what they expect?
So in other words, campaigns will be sort of more like everywhere else.
It could be. That's an interesting avenue to think about and research. These aren't the good old days in Louisiana anymore. I mean, people are out of work. Businesses are in trouble. People are leaving the state. And it may be that what we could do 5 and 10 years ago in Louisiana in political campaigns, we can't do anymore.
For the kind of skills that you developed working in commercials in Louisiana, did that give you an advantage once you got out of the state and started to do other campaigns that other people that come up in the business wouldn't have?
I think what I did in Louisiana was good experience. I think this was a good training ground for me, and I think it's good for other consultants who have lived and worked here and went off to other areas, primarily Washington and New York. Politics is serious business in Louisiana. The stakes are very high, and as I said earlier, it's a spectator sport, and people expect to see very vigorous campaigns. So I think what I learned in Louisiana and the political arena here has served me very well in other parts of the country.
Louis?
End of cassette.
Sounds fine. Let me just get some room tone.